Genesis chapter 26, verses 2 and 3. And the Lord appeared to him and said, Do not go down to Egypt. Dwell in the land of which I shall tell you. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with you, and will bless you. For to you and to your offspring I will give all these lands, and I will establish the oath that I swore to Abraham, your father. Now, yesterday we spoke about the reality that there can be trouble sometimes in your promise. The reality that there are sometimes challenges in your blessings. Well, we see today in this scripture that when the trouble came in the promised land, when there was famine in the land, Isaac sought to do the same thing his father Abraham did 100 years before. So 100 years before, Abraham, when there was famine in the promised land, he left and went to Egypt. He went to Egypt because he figured, here I can get sustenance. Now 100 years later, there is famine in the land, and Isaac is seeking to do the same thing, following in the footsteps of his father. But what do we see here? The Lord spoke to Isaac and said, do not go down to Egypt. Stay in the land. Even though it is that there are some troubles in the land, even though there is famine in the land, this is your promised land. If I promised this to you, I can take care of you in it. If God gave it to you, he can sustain you in it. Where he leads, he feeds. He will always provide when you are in his will. So he said to Isaac, do not leave the promise. Do not forsake your promise. His father Abraham did it and came back. Isaac was trying to do it and God stopped him. Years later, it happened again. There was famine in the land. Joseph was already in Egypt. He was sold out as a slave and was in Egypt. His brethren went down for food, got food and carried it back to the household. They went again, got food, carried it back. But we know the story well. Eventually, Jacob, renamed Israel, went down with his entire household, all his descendants, 70 of them, and their in-laws. They left the promised land and went down to Egypt. They not only went to Egypt, they stayed in Egypt. What was the end result of that? You remember what happened to them? For centuries, they ended up being enslaved. They ended up in slavery and abuse for centuries. Why? They left the promise to what looked better. I encourage you today, do not forsake your promise. Do not forsake the blessings that God gave you. Irrespective of what is happening in it now, it hasn't taken God by surprise. He knew it would happen before he blessed you with it. He's able to take care of you in it. Do not forsake your promise. Though across there might seem better, though the grass seems greener on the other side, there's nothing that will be better for you than your promise. It might be great for others, but your best is in your promise. Your best is in your blessing. do not forsake your promise. Like, share, subscribe, and of course, please also comment. Let's talk about it. God bless you.